Hey, I'm Nick, and I help people improve their discipline and productivity in order to reach their dream lifestyles. And today, I want to give another tip to breaking some bad habits. Because, as we all know, bad habits are a big thing that hold us back. When we are trying to improve ourselves, there are always going to be some vices, and some vices are just second nature to us. They've become habits and have been ingrained in our minds. When we try and sit down to focus on a certain thing, our focus can almost always be taken away because of phones or TV or other distractions on your device. And what I've talked about before is that in order to achieve the best output from your work, you are going to need 100% focus and you're going to need to be able to sit down and work, not sit down, be distracted, get halfway through and then go back and go in circles before actually getting the results that you need. In order to be productive, we need to be sitting down, doing the work, getting the results that we need in order to reference how close we're getting to our dream goal or whatever we're trying to do in our life. But the thing is that we're not always going to be 100% perfect. We are going to stuff up in some ways, and it's just a key to reflect back and see where we can improve. But our big vice that we're talking about today is bad habits, things that aren't one-offs and are actually happening to you maybe on the daily that are holding you back, draining your energy and taking your focus away. But not only are habits done repetitively, but because of that, they are much harder to break rather than a one-off situation where you just muck up and you're able to fix yourself. Habits are very hard to break, good or bad, which I talk about a lot. You see, it's easy to improve yourself day by day with the little things. However, to make real improvements, we are going to need to change up habits and make it second nature to do or do not do something. We have to make it second nature to do something or to not do something. Now, I've mentioned a couple in the past on ways to break bad habits, but today I want to talk about actually picturing where you are in your life and actually visualizing what you're doing right now. Because most of the time, bad habits are pretty embarrassing to do. You wouldn't call yourself productive and then risk having someone walk in on you scrolling through your phone or doing some other kind of bad habit. The sooner you're able to realize and imagine how silly it is to do whatever bad habit you're doing, then when you are in the motions of carrying it out and you don't really have that concentration going on, it's still possible to think back on how you felt before and picturing yourself, what you're doing right now, maybe even holding a mirror, maybe physical or metaphorical, to yourself and reflecting on, is what you're doing right now the person who you say you are? When you imagine yourself and you visualize where you want to be in your life, is it someone who's just crashing on their bed and doing nothing? And the end goal of this tip is that you realize that this isn't who you are and you're able to snap yourself out. And maybe even if it's uncomfortable to break the habit straight away and go from doing mindless dopamine to doing nothing at all, then you still have that reassurance in your mind that you're doing the right thing. But obviously, that can't be done without first visualizing, imagining, and creating goals of who you want to be, which is something that is again talked about a lot on this channel. To have goals, you need to have visualizations and plans and be able to track where you want to be and be able to imagine and think of yourself as the person who can get from point A to point B. And so the more ingrained the visualization of yourself and your self image is, the better you're able to recognize whether or not you should do something and recognize whether you should stop a bad habit. As the more times you stop a bad habit in its tracks, the easier it comes for the next time to do that. And then it becomes what I've talked about before, an anti-habit of always, whenever you're about to do something bad or in the middle of doing something bad, you have that habit of automatically just turning it off and going from that thing to the other more important task that you're meant to be doing. So that's all for today. It's mainly to break a bad habit, you need to visualize yourself not doing it or really hold a mirror to yourself and really think about, is what you're doing right now the person who you want to be. However, if you're still interested in learning more about productivity tips or tricks, I have now started one-on-one coaching, which you can book a call for using the first link in the description below. But until then, I'll see you later.